And welcome everybody to another edition of Hell and Hightails, the edgiest and gayest anime podcast on your interwebs, just slowly, anally fisting our way into your fleshy hearts. I am Flashy JW Evans, and as per usual, I am joined by my delightful co-host, Willie D. Will, we're talking about Violet Evergarden. Talk about it.
Hello, everybody. Today, as JW mentioned, we are going to be speaking about the wonderful anime known as Violet Evergarden. Now, for anyone who
are you gonna do that fucking
voice
this whole time?
Maybe I will.
You fucker.
But no, in all seriousness, though, for anyone who wants to watch this anime, it is probably one of the most beautiful, well-animated animes that have come out in the recent years. And it is also very fucking sad and depressing. You will cry at least through a fourth of the episodes. So grab the box of tissues.
I kept a record of when I did and did not cry. There are 3 episodes where I did not cry. This is a 14-episode show. That is a very high percentage for me to consistently cry at shows. I do not cry at shows often. I did not cry during Evangelion. I did not cry during Berserk. I cried during Violet Evergarden. Nearly every episode. There was a multitude of tears. And I was sick for half of these episodes. I wasn't in the mood to put extra energy in producing fluid from my eyeballs, but I did. By force. But no, seriously, this show is absolutely delightful. I plan to watch this show for a very, 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 very long time. From back when I very first heard about it and was first out, I was planning to watch it. I wasn't sure if I would like it, but I knew that, well, I heard that it was very pretty aesthetically, and that the animation was very pretty. It was nice to look at, which that alone was enough for me to watch it, because even if the show was shit, if the show was a visual wonder, I could probably still enjoy it pretty decently, as long as it wasn't like fairy tale levels of garbage or something. So, I was always kind of hyped to watch it, but I never really actually did. There's like a long, spiraling fucking list of shows I plan to watch. I have every intention to watch. I just lack any percentile of motivation to actually get off my ass and type in the name on Google and watch it. But mostly because I have both a coworker at one of my 2 jobs and then also a podcast about anime where I have to watch anime to talk about. I decided to finally fucking watch it. And I very much am glad I did. Yeah, it took me a long time to get to it, too. This was supposed to be one of the first episodes of the podcast, and it's like, I think the 12th. So it took me a bit.
Jesus.
But eventually, I got really fucking sick and couldn't leave my bed. So I was like, well, I guess I'm watching Violet Evergarden. Maybe I'll cry my sickness out. And I did.
Impressive. One of the things I also...
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the things I very much enjoy about it, too, is it uses... obviously, I guess most anime uses, for the most part, 2D drawn animation. But there's a lot of notable instances of anime nowadays that uses CG in certain parts that is not great. Takers. But Violet Evergarden, in the few instances that it does use CG for things, such as Violet's arms, for example, it is done very well and almost seamlessly. There were several occasions that I didn't even realize it until the person I was watching it pointed it out to me.
There's a lot of scenes in Violet Evergarden that have CG in them. There's a lot. But it is done consistently in a way that is very delightful. There's a lot of times where they take computerized textures and lay them over things in Violet Evergarden. However, it is always done in a way that is very beautiful to look at and looks very good in motion. There is no point where, like you said, it is seamless. There is no point in Violet Evergarden where you are looking at it and you stop to think, wait, what the fuck is going on with that? Because everything feels like it matches together. There's no point where it's like, oh, there's a weird thing of CG, I guess. It just always looks delightful. It's very artistically pleasing. They have a very clear aesthetic they are going for the entirety of the show, and just everything about it artistic-wise is beautiful. Will, really quick, before I monopolize the conversation, could you give a overview of the kind of plot and themes of the show?
Okay. So I want to try and explain it without spoiling too much of it.
I mean, go ahead and do I guess if you don't want to do spoilers, I won't force you to spoil it.
I don't know. I mean, if you're okay with doing spoilers, I'll spoil the fuck out of this anime.
We're going to be doing a very long video of it, so I feel like from this point on, we'll have spoilers.
Okay. Yeah. Spoiler alert from this point on. If you don't want spoilers, go watch the anime and come back to this. So the premise of the show is it follows the star of the show, Violet Evergarden.
Yes.
Yeah. Shocker. So the idea is she was a child who was found by this man in the military, and essentially she was forced to become a soldier and they didn't view her as a child or as a person. They viewed her as a tool. They essentially brainwashed her into becoming just a mindless, efficient killing machine. And, oh man, is she a killing machine.
There's literally scenes in the show are so fucking badass and out of nowhere.
Yeah, here's this little fucking, this like 12-year-old blonde girl that's like, they just let her loose on a fucking platoon of enemy soldiers and she just wiped them out.
They don't even let her loose. Like, they're trying to specifically hold her back, and then she just fucking weasels around and murders everyone. They're like, well, fucking shit.
And the thing is, when this starts off, it opens up, and we don't know about this yet. If I remember correctly, it opens up with her just waking up in a hospital bed, and her arms are bandaged.
You wake up in a hospital bed, but you know that she is somehow involved in war stuff because she's asking about her, she's asking about whatever her, a lot. You know that she was involved in war in some fashion.
Yeah. So we find out soon after that the person that was basically in her command of her was this man known as the Major. I can't remember his actual name off the top of my head. But basically she was given to her by his older brother essentially as a gift, as basically, yeah, here's this fucking badass killing machine. She's yours now. Do with her as you want.
If you ever want the most like literal symbolism of a girl being objectified, this is a good show for that, because of people being objectified is a theme throughout the show, and it is symbolized very frequently by her just very, very literally, like, not just being objectified, but literally being gifted to a person because she is an object. And she is being looked at as a tool. And she is a very underage and impressionable person who is also, like, sexualized by the one person that cares about her. So, themes of objectification are not only strong in this, they are very, very on the nose with it.
Wait, are you talking about the Major is the one person that cares about her?
Yeah. I mean, like, at that point,
I don't feel like she gets sexualized by him.
Well, anyway, go on with your plot thing.
Yeah, basically what I was saying, though, is it's... Basically, I was going to mention that he seems to be the only person that actually treats her as if she's a person. He tries to get her to kind of, like, open up a bit and, tell her that you don't have to be this mindless tool. You are a human being, and you're allowed to be a human being. One of the things he does is there's a night where I think they're at like some kind of festival or something, and he actually buys her this really nice it's not a necklace. I think it's called a brooch
Yeah,
or
it's a
something.
brooch.
And it's a beautiful emerald color, and he tells her it matches her eyes, and that's why he buys it for her.
No, she want no,
And
he no, no. He told her to pick something that she liked. Eventually,
oh, I remember now. Yeah, my
she
bad.
went to that, and the reason she liked it is because it matched his eyes.
Oh,
and,
right, it matched his eyes. Okay, I remember
and
now.
the lady described it as beautiful, which is the first time she ever even heard the word beautiful in her life. So then she turns to him and says, "This is beautiful. I like it because it reminds me of your eyes. Your eyes are beautiful. I thought that since I first met you. I just never said it because I didn't know that word until now." Which fucking made me cry.
It's so sad.
Because that is so heartwarming.
And then,
so beautiful.
So as it goes on, when popping back to present day, because what this anime does a lot is it goes back and forth between the past and the present day.
It's very flashback heavy.
And one of the things I should mention as well is it's basically set in kind of World War I era. I don't think it takes place in the same universe as real life, obviously.
It does not.
But
it definitely does not.
But the technology level, etc., is that of, and the era kind of style is that of World War I.
Except robotics in terms of fucking artificial limbs are way better. That's like the one difference.
Okay, we don't talk about the arms, which we should mention. Yeah, they take off the bandages of her arms, and it's revealed that her arms are just straight up metal.
Yeah, she's got robo arms. So like,
I don't think they're supposed. It's not. I don't think it's implied that they're robotic. It's just they kind of function way better than they realistically should.
They are robotic. She turns a fucking like dial on her arm to then set them to type faster.
Yeah.
There is
Fair
no
enough.
way they are not robotic in any, so it's like, they just have way better artificial limbs than they normally would for the time period, and their literacy rate, in terms of people writing letters, is just even worse than it should be for the time period, is essentially the only differences.
Right, because one of the plot points of what she does is, now that she's no longer in the military, she becomes what's called an auto memory doll, which basically is someone who types letters. The idea
Everybody
is basically
here is hella dumb, so I gotta write for you because you're fucking dumb.
Yeah. Her job is literally just to type
write for
letters.
you because you have a bunch of fucking 12-year-olds write for you because you're hella stupid.
Her job is literally just to type letters for people because they don't know how to read.
That, and also they move away from that a little bit later, because I think they realized, or the dude realized when he was making the novel, that it's a little far-fetched to assume there would be that many illiterate people that could also afford to buy letters. So eventually, what they do is they start introducing lots of characters who want them to write letters, not because they can't write them themselves, but because they can't write a letter that conveys their emotions properly, which is one of the biggest issues in the show, because you have Violet Evergarden, who is crippled emotionally, who never learned
physically,
who God damn it.
So basically, I just want to cut you off for a second. This is Violet. She is crippled physically because she has no arms, and she's crippled emotionally because she's so fucked up in the head she doesn't understand most emotions. So she got a job where she needs to use her arms and fucking understand emotions.
Basically, the idea is that her fucking major, that she's like super hella in love with, she just like loves him so much she made him a pedophile, that her and the major
I wouldn't say it's a romantic love. I'd say it's more of a platonic love.
I greatly will disagree. I will greatly that is a fine interpretation, but I will fucking hands down hard disagree that is a purely platonic love. It is a complicated, troubled, not entirely correct love. It is a guy who took in a girl as a almost father figure of her, who cared about her too much in a situation where they were at war, and then romantically fell in love with her, in my interpretation, and there's just no way fucking, then he fucking died.
And then he died.
His last, where his last words were telling her we're telling her that she needs to go out and live her life and be free. To not just be a doll or a tool, but to be a person and live and be free. And from the bottom of my heart, I love you. And then he died while she was saying, I don't understand, over and over again. And then...
Yeah, that's another big plot point of the anime. She's trying to understand what love is.
That's the entire reason that she is a doll, is because she wants to understand what he meant by telling her, I love you. Because that is a very complicated emotion, and she wants to learn to understand the feelings that he was presenting to her accurately. And she wants to learn to feel as a person, and to do that, she has acquired a job specifically about interpreting the emotions of others and putting them into words. Which is basically a beautiful way to do it.
There's a pretty well-known song that can describe the entire plot of this anime. I want to know what love is.
Fucking hate you. God damn it, Will. You fucking cock-ass. Fucking goddamn fucking jackass, dick-ass, fucking ass.
That was funny, and you know it.
I don't. There's not a single atom that comprises my existence that recognizes that as humorous. Anyway, but, I personally think that it was a romantic love between the two of them. While in the first season, which is what is out right now, they leave it on a bit of a cliffhanger on whether it is platonic or romantic. The times where she emotes the most strongly in thinking of the major is when other people are talking about love that is very romantic. The times she gets most emotional. She got emotional when the one girl was trying to write a letter to her brother, but not as emotional as she got when a girl was talking about her significant other that never came back from the war.
That's fair enough. I think I might have just been a little too stupid to pick up on that.
Also, the show was clever because they knew that having a giant age gap and a not so legal age gap would be awkward. So they have a scene where when she is writing for the princess, she asks Violet, hey, do you think it's weird that the guy I'm getting married to is way fucking older than me and I am still a child? And then she says, after dodging the question a few times, she says, historically speaking, age has never been a barrier to love. Which is a quote from Violet Evergarden. The person in love with somebody way older than her.
So, basically, the anime Violet Evergarden condones pedophilia, and you shouldn't watch it.
No, it just continues, anime's, awkward relationship with ages, and how that poorly translates to most every other country. However, I don't think at any point it makes the show less good or the romance less enjoyable. The way in which it's presented, I mean, it's already a fucked love in the first place, right? Even though it's, really wholesome and touching, the love they share is already kind of fucked in the sense that he raised her already, and in doing so also fell for her and she for him. So it's already, a bit awkward in the sense that she was already, groomed to like him and not understand anyone else anyway. And in her situation, it's like, no matter what, the person that she was sold to, she was going to be 100% dependent on. So it's already a situation where the love isn't exactly like a pure politically correct love anyway. So the show doesn't really try to pretend it is either. And it doesn't really try to like justify it. It tries to very like, I mean, it tries to justify it by like having her specifically say it's not a barrier to love. It tries to get the audience to not think about it too much. And it tries to just like focus on the emotions of the fact. So like, I guess it.
Look, if we, as long as we don't let them think about it too long, we can avoid some serious legal trouble.
Yeah, I guess I tried to say that they don't hide from the fact it's toxic, but they do. There's toxic natures of it, but the effect on Violet, inevitably, seeing that she's the only one that isn't a fucking hot corpse in the ground, the effect on her is what is way more important. And the effects he had on her are purely positive. So, because of that, they never really touch on, like, the iffiness of it, because even though
boy, is it iffy.
There's iffy things about it. But the effects it had on Violet itself were as uniffy as they could have possibly been in that situation. If she was sold to anybody else, or treated any way differently, it would have affected her less positively as a human being, or more negatively, depending how you looked at it. So, like, because of that, the iffiness isn't, like, a thing that you think about while you're watching it, unless you're overanalyzing it later.
And then it becomes really fucked.
I mean, like, okay, if we're going to, like, analyze and every single anime that has an awkward age gap, then that's just every anime. So we would have to cancel the channel, so this is just something that's par for the course of this fucking point. Inuyasha's like fucking, 3,000? Kagome's like fucking 15 as a reincarnation of his fucking ex, who he cheats on her with. He cheats on the goat.
Okay, that's a big age gap, yes. But at least they're both of age.
That confirm that Will
one's
fucks
not a
15-year-olds.
child. Sorry, what was that?
To be fair, I think Violet
No. Hold on. Run that back. What did you say?
Violet estimated. It wasn't confirmed her literal age, but Violet estimated in the show that she guesses she's about 14. So that's only 1 year difference. I don't know Kagome's actual age. I think she's probably like 16. I know she goes back at the end of Inuyasha and actually graduates, so by the time they actually get married, she's probably about 18.
Look, all I'm saying is, have you seen a 14-year-old with titties that big?
That is recorded on this podcast forever.
Never run for office.
We can't. No one that is involved in this podcast could run for office. Actually, never mind.
For other reasons.
Nick, who is on this podcast, is actually running for president in 2020. So never mind.
Like, actually?
Yeah, he legally is registered as a candidate for president in 2020.
How?
Apparently, he found a way to get every legal requirement to apply and be registered as a candidate. It is illegal to swear him in as president because he doesn't meet the age requirement, but apparently the age requirement stops you from actually being sworn in as president, but it doesn't stop you from being an official candidate for president.
So he won't win no matter what, but
he's running for the fuck of it, so it doesn't really matter.
It's because he can.
He filled out tons of paperwork and started an entire committee just so he could run for president as a joke.
Oh my god, that is dedication to a fucking joke if I've ever seen it.
In 2016, he did also, and I made his campaign poster.
What is the actual age requirement to be the president again?
I'm dumb as shit. That's why I have a podcast about anime instead of anything that matters.
I remember.
Anyway.
I remember.
I think it's 35.
We should probably get back to Violet Evergarden.
But Violet Evergarden does not have weird people running for president that I know of, like Nick, who was in the last episode. But delightful show, very emotional. I enjoyed it a lot. It was a little awkward because the show really ended the season at episode 13. That's when it really ended. That's when they had the fucking cliche fucking show ending thing where the scene is still playing, but they start having the end credits over the top of it with the ending theme, and it's emotional, and it's like the last fucking hurrah fucking cool down of the show. They had that episode 13. Then episode 14 was just some fucking filler bullshit that's like, yeah, you were crying, and now here's just another episode that entirely de-escalates everything that we built.
I forgot about that bit.
I liked it. It was a really good episode. It's just the kind of episode that should have been in the fucking middle of the show, and not... I mean, okay, they shouldn't have moved it to the middle of the show, because obviously that would fuck up the chronology of it, but it was so awkward having that bit at the end, after we just had what was clearly the actual ending of the season. I'm guessing that was just an OVA or something that was released after the season. That's my guess. Because I don't watch anime as it airs. I've mentioned it before. I fucking I abhor watching anime weekly. Nothing ruins a show more for me than having an entire week to muster and think about it. That's what, like, made Naruto Shippuden start to get really fucking iffy for me towards the end there before I stopped watching. That's what... I have caught up to One Piece 3 times! And then I have tried to watch it weekly every one of those 3 times, and then I'm like, this is fucking unbearable. And then I quit watching until there was enough for me to binge watch again. So, like...
Speaking of which, I've actually finally gotten into Shippuden. I'm about 50 episodes in so far.
Oh, good for you.
They just found Sasuke.
Finally. Can't wait for him to run away again. Anyway.
Fucking bitch.
Fucking Sasuke. Anyway, we already had one entire episode about Naruto.
Yeah.
But, fucking... I lost my train of thought now, because fucking Naruto came up. God damn it, you fucker, and your Naruto.
Fucking shit.
You
fucking Orochimaru and his fucking long neck.
Fucking ass, sword vomiting ass. But, anyway.
Head ass heaven.
The opening. We haven't talked about the opening yet. A lot of these times I review shows, I haven't talked about the opening a lot, which is kind of fucking stupid because I really like the opening. When I did my anime reviews before the podcast came back, I was very adamant about including the opening in the reviews. I have neglected to do that since the return of the podcast. The opening is really nice. I like it a lot. I find it interesting that a show with such beautiful exploding visuals decided to have such a relaxed, toned-down opening, which I think is kind of cool, and I think fits the overall vibe of the show a lot. Because the show isn't a go, exploding fucking burst of action, oh shit, that happened kind of show. The show is like a really slow-burning candle that is running really consistently at that same pace. It doesn't really, like, speed up or slow down a lot. It's kind of like, it has its pace, it's a little bit slower, and it's at that pace the whole show. But I think it's a pace that really benefits the emotions of the show a lot, and is part of the reason they're so impactful. And I think the opening did a good job of kind of reflecting that emotion, and even the really subtle, relaxed, kind of Arial font-ass logo of the show in the opening kind of did a good job of that too. The opening looks a lot like in fucking Super Mario Odyssey. Whenever you go into a world and they have the name of your mission, they have a white bar open on the top of the screen, and then they have the words like float from out of the white bar, and it's a really simple Arial font, and that's exactly the same as the opening of Violet Evergarden.
But they're two very different shows.
Yeah, and also one's a video game and not a show.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just bearing you that for no reason. Any other things you would like to add about Violet Evergarden, Will?
I was going to say, I think another thing that's worth mentioning is the fact that it's a Netflix anime, and that's, considering how amazing this show is, I was pleasantly surprised, because, you know, Netflix has a bit of a trend of its animes being a bit shit.
What anime has Netflix all, like, taken under their wing now? I know, out of anime that they have actually, like, been the ones to sub, not anime that they just have on Netflix. I know they redubbed Evangelion, and I know they did Violet, and I know they did this one magical girl anime, except they didn't do the first beginning of the show. They took this random season or fucking new part of the show and named it Glitter Force, I think. And just entirely changed the name completely. And those are the only 3 shows I know they have that are like Netflix anime and not just anime like Soul Eater that Funimation did that are just on there. What other ones are there?
I know they did like a movie for, I think it was like Full Metal Alchemist or something. It was like live action or some shit. I never actually saw it, but I remember hearing everybody say it was absolutely awful.
I know the live action ones get a lot of shit. I meant like anime that they subbed and dubbed.
Oh, I don't know any other ones off the top of my head. I don't really watch a lot of Netflix anime.
The way you said it, I thought you had like a catalog in your head.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
The way you said it sounded like you had a lot more to say about it than you did.
My bad. I do. One thing I do want to talk about. Can we take a moment to talk about episode 10?
Absolutely.
And how fucked that episode was. Like, the idea of basically the premise of episode 10. Once again, spoilers. Like, this is probably big spoiler. The idea is basically
said Gilbert's dead. We got the biggest spoiler already.
Fair enough. Violet gets hired for one of her jobs to write these letters for this woman, and as she's writing these letters for this woman, it becomes very quickly apparent that this woman is very sick. She's very ill.
That fucking episode. Fuck you. That fucking episode. I just realized the episode you're talking about. God damn it.
That's where everyone cries.
That fucking episode. That was so beautiful, though.
So the idea is, this woman also has a daughter, and her daughter is very young, maybe like 6 or 7 years old. And while Violet's here, the daughter is getting kind of angry and is sad that she never gets to really do anything with her mom anymore. She's not really getting much attention, and it bothers her. And so she kind of becomes friends with Violet, and Violet kind of acts like a nanny to her almost. And when it gets a little bit towards the end of the episode, you start to realize this mother is not just sick, she's dying. And it's revealed at the end, these letters that Violet has been writing are actually from the mother to her daughter, and they were basically meant for her to read each year on her birthday.
But it wasn't just on her birthday each year. It was for the next 50 years of her lifespan. There were 50 letters, so she would get one every year for the next 50 years. And given the time period this is in, their life expectancy probably isn't going to be a lot longer than another 50 years after this girl's whatever fucking age. So essentially her whole lifetime.
Yeah, because the mother knew that she was dying, so she wanted to leave something behind for her daughter. That's just sad.
Sorry, the fucking people that live above me in this apartment complex were just fucking having a party upstairs. Goddamn. Jesus. Anyway, that was so loud it might have picked up on the mic. But a lot of the episodes kind of follow the same formula where it's like, here is Violet, the fucking perfect fucking letter magician that comes in to these sad people's lives and makes them just a tiny bit better with her good old letters, and she leaves and everybody loves her because she's so great and everyone's lives are better now. That's like so many episodes.
And then there's that one.
Well, no, that's one of them. She's just the fucking, like, all of them are still sad. None of these are happy. But she's the magic woman that looks like she's from a fairy tale that goes in and makes everybody's lives just a little bit less shit and then
She's
goes
like
off
the
on her
fairy-
merry way. They're still
She's
shit.
like-
But it's like, you know, it's like, okay, now your mom's still gonna be a big fat stack of corpse dust, but now you got some cool letters to read every year.
She's like Cinderella's fairy godmother. She had a typewriter instead of a magic wand.
A thing that is worth noting about Violet Evergarden, the show its art style is, you know, very extravagant and the way in which the world is built. However, the story itself is very minimalistic. The things that happen aren't these giant, complex, overarching narratives that drop bombs on you. These are very simple things and simple reveals and simple concepts. It's not the fact that it's these big, woven narratives that are causing them to move you emotionally. This isn't a giant, unbelievable tragedy like the things that happened in God Hand in Berserk. These are all very simple, realistic problems. Even the ones that aren't realistic are still very down-to-earth and minimalistic for anime, at least. However, because of that, and the slow pacing of the show, and just how beautiful the world is and the way in which it brings you in, and the beauty of the world that makes you just lean in an extra bit more, and pay attention an extra bit more because you don't want to look away, and the way they present it, and show you this story through the eyes of someone that doesn't have the emotional capacity to understand the full gravity of the sad things around her. They make these, like, seemingly, like, simple problems compared to the problems of fucking dudes like Goku and Guts. And they make these fucking problems seem massive and monumental and fucking heavy and weighing people down, and it's frightening and it's wholesome in a way, because it's not a story of people with bad things happening to them. It's a story of a girl learning to understand their feelings and their problems so she could use it as a way to better see and understand her own feelings and problems, and then trying to make their problems just a little more bearable. And that turns this from a show that could have been just a tragedy, just a list of tragic events, that turns this into a show that is wholesome and heartwarming at the same time it's sad. And that's exactly why it hurts. Because it's not a tragedy. It's a heartwarming story of a girl learning to understand her own emotions, who is, like, essentially has emotional autism and just can't. But it is done...
You just want to...
It is done by her exploring the tragedy of others. And because you constantly have this dichotomy of happy, wholesome, helpful, character-growing moments having to always coincide with tragedy and tearjerkers, it is exactly why it hits so much harder than shows that are just aiming to just be sad.
Just want to just grab her in your arms and wrap her up in a big hug and just tell her it's going to be all right.
Except she'd probably snap your neck because she has hella bad PTSD.
That actually reminds me of a joke. Me and
You
On a
are
lighter
getting
note.
way too much laugh thinking about the joke you're about to tell. Okay,
Well, it's less of a joke. It's
no
more
more.
so...
No more talking about Violet Evergarden. We are done talking about Violet Evergarden. The whole podcast is ending the topic purely to focus on the sheer, groundbreaking comedy fucking skills that are about to be laid down by Willie D. Ropdat Bass right here, right now. Will, you have the floor.
Well, I was gonna say it's less of a joke and more
You
so just like a
have
running
the
gag.
fucking floor. Tell us the
It's-
joke. Tell us the joke that is going to change our perspectives on comedy forever.
It's not even a joke. It's just when me and my other friend were watching this anime, we basically just kept making little snips of how anytime she seemed mildly disgruntled about anything, we just made a joke of like, she's about to go postal and just snap the neck of everyone in this fucking room. Like with the guy when she's first in one of the scenes
I'm
where she's in
disappointed
the
because when you first said that, I thought when you said postal, the joke is gonna be that she writes letters and that it was a pun.
That's actually really good. I wish I was clever enough to have thought of that. But yeah, like for example, the scene where a guy's talking about like, I'm not gonna pay that much for this fucking letter. She just grabs him by the fucking, just grabs him, pushed his head down, and that just what was that?
She was just like, that would be illegal. She's like, that is
would
illegal
love
to
to
not pay us for our services.
That is illegal. Will you be paying with cash or blood? You're taking too long. Dead.
God damn it.
I would
beautiful,
love
though, how much she changed over the course of the show, because she was like, she became literally the best out of all of the fucking dolls at interpreting others' emotions into letters by the end of it. And at the beginning, she was utterly incompetent, and nothing but a hindrance to those around her. It's a beautiful transformation. So fun to see. I can't wait for the movie. Are you hyped for the movie, Will?
Oh, I didn't know they were making a movie.
Instead of a second season, the next arc of the show is going to be a film.
I am very hyped.
However, it's still delayed. The release date is no longer the release date because the certain lovely studio that is behind this has had some certain fire issues. So, you know,
Like, are we talking actual literal fire?
Did you not hear about this?
I didn't. I'm not very up to date on current events.
It was a huge thing. The whole studio was on fucking fire.
Oh, so yes, literal fire. Okay, yeah. That is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a little delayed because the people working on it are burning at the moment. So, not at the moment. They're done burning now. Now they're just crying in the wreckage.
Damn, guys, your new anime is on fire. It's like, thanks, we know. No, it's literally burning as we speak.
Thankfully, they've gotten a large amount of donations and they've gotten a lot of support since then. Like that was quite a bit ago now, so it's not like. So if it makes we're not like making a joke of an event that like just happened. It's like been a bit now, but you know because of that, you know there's a lot of things that are delayed, and that is one of them. Unfortunately, while they are in the process of rebuilding and healing. But
was anyone like seriously hurt or anything like that? Or?
I'm not sure. However, what I am sure of is that is all the time we have for this episode before the fellow people in my apartment complex storm my door and drag me out kicking and screaming for yelling so much during this episode. So, Will, do you have anything you want to plug before I close the episode, or any final words? You have 40 seconds.
Scoop-de-poop. Those are my final words.
An absolute failure as usual. I am disappointed, and you manage to increase my disappointment every episode. However, I still love you.
You know I'm not good with coming up with shit on the spot.
That's why I did it, so I can mock you for whatever you said. Anyway, I hope I'll enjoy the episode. Have a delightful day, and come back next time.